And so I kept trying to go the traditional route. Like I went to college. I even went to nursing school and I got my nursing license. But all the while, like, hair just kept calling me.
And I remember us sitting on the couch in the salon and I'm like bawling, crying because I said yes.
As a nurse, I was working at a lockdown facility for youth, and I would still come home and braid my clients' hair. My clients were like, when are you going to open your salon? And I'm just like, I don't know. And, I didn't really have an answer for them because I still had this fear of taking that step into entrepreneurship.
I knew that I wanted to contribute to somebody's whole experience versus just having them leave with their hair looking good. Because I knew if they came and they I felt heard today, I felt seen today, I felt loved today, I felt encouraged today, and I'm leaving looking good, I'm coming back. Like, you know? Welcome everyone to the Rare One podcast.
What's up, y'all? My name is Essence China, and I am a natural hairstylist. Been in the industry for 20 years. And Adelaide, how about you?
I am also a natural hairstylist, and believe it or not, I've been in the industry for about 17 years. Been doing hair professionally for about 17 years, and doing it for real for over 20 years. So we have a little skin in the game.
So yeah, we decided to start this podcast, one, because we just had a heart to share so much to hairstylists in terms of like, it's so much more than just being a stylist. Like there is a whole human being that needs to be cared for, that has needs. And so we were like, we need to talk more about what stylists need. You know?
We believe in a holistic approach, and we really believe in a whole stylist coming to actually serve in the community, not just with their talents, but coming mentally, physically, emotionally prepared to be able to do this work and have perpetuity in the industry.
So why Rare One? The Rare One.
Okay, so when we were brainstorming, like what we really want to convey to people is how important it is to be rare. Like God made us all individually perfect. Like he made us exactly who we needed to be and with our own talents and gifts. But at the end of the day, we're all called to serve the body of Christ. So how can we do that in the kingdom? Like we want to be able to nurture those gifts, but make sure that we're still pointing you in the direction to be able to serve the people he called you to serve.
Yeah, I agree. I think many people are not aware of their rareness, and I think the more that you are aware of it, you can show up authentically. And it kind of leads into the acronym for RARE. And RARE stands for, the first letters are, it speaks to having a revelation. And that means that sometimes things can be right in front of your eyes, but it's still hidden from you, right? And so a revelation of who God is and who he created you to be. And I think when you have that revelation and you understand how rare and unique you are, you know how to take your place with authority and with confidence. The second letter is A, which speaks to authentic, having the authentic assignment. And so a lot of us as stylists, sometimes we can get lost in the comparison trap. We can get lost in thinking that we need to be something that we're not. And so when we tap into our authenticity and we understand what our assignment is, we can contribute in a very unique way. And so that is the letter A. And then the third letter, which is R, is for readiness. And it speaks to preparing yourself for your work. A lot of us are naturally gifted. We've been doing hair since we were kids and we've really enjoyed it. And some people have got into the industry maybe even later in their life, but probably always had the passion for it. But sometimes we can rest on our natural abilities and not prepare ourselves. And so what does it look like to be prepared? And it speaks to, again, the whole stylist. It's more than just, you as a stylist, but it's, how do you show up in your natural life? Because all of those things go across the board. Your standards for your personal self are also going to be, they're going to reflect in your standards for your business and how you show up. And then the fourth letter, the fourth letter is E, and it speaks to excellence.
My favorite.
And, it talks about like, okay, when we are called to do our work, we know who we are, we understand our assignment, we are preparing ourselves. Well, now it's time for us to serve. But when we serve, we have to serve with excellence because that's what our community deserves, right? And so, yeah, so that's essentially the whole idea of rare and understanding that we are rare. And today we want to talk a lot about, our why, your why, purpose, because I think that that's really what keeps you in this thing and reminds you of, why, like the commitment to it, the why of why you're even here. Because many times you can find yourself getting lost if you're not aware of your why. So you tell me, Adelaide, like how did you know that this is what you were like called to do?
I did not know that I was necessarily called to do it until I was probably like 10 years in, honestly. I've been doing hair since I was like 6 years old. So it was always something that I just could do, but I didn't take it seriously until college, which... Well, no, I would say until I was 15 when I met you, and you invited me to be able to work in the salon. But it wasn't a skill that I would say was celebrated as much because of the environment that I came in. It was kind of deemed more as a hobby than something that I can make a career out of. And like when we share this, like it literally makes me emotional every time because I'm like, God really used every single thing to get me to this point. But the reality is when I decided to go to college and give everything I had, God said, literally right after I graduated, God said that this was something that I was supposed to do and that I had to give it everything. And I listened. And even in that obedience, it was extremely difficult because I only saw myself as an academic. Like I was about to prepare for grad school and he was like, no, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And I was like, wait, what? It was hard. And I felt like I was disappointing a lot of people, but choosing this meant choosing what God wanted for my life over what I wanted for my life. And it has given the greatest amount of fruit that I could have even imagined. Like I have joy. I literally love what I do every single day. I love serving our clients. I love serving our community. I love showing up, even with the skills. I got my degree in psychology, and all the tools and everything I learned in school are able to be applied. Like they were able to be applied immediately, like meeting with and serving clients. And so I didn't realize it was a call until graduation. And I'm just so happy that I answered the call. And I had no clue where it would lead whatsoever.
Right.
And I remember us sitting on the couch in the salon and I'm like bawling, crying because I said yes. Bawling, crying. I will never forget that. And it was a hard yes, but it was still a yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now we're here.
Yep.
So what do you feel like drew you to be able to do this work?
I mean, initially, you get into it because it's just a hobby. It's something that you enjoy doing. And, you see a need, whether it's your family members or your friends, and you dabble in it. And I think, at the time I had very much the same type of thought process as you did, because I think society does put those, well, you need a real job, know? And so I kept trying to go the traditional route. Like I went to college. I even went to nursing school and I got my nursing license, but all the while, like hair just kept calling me. Yeah. And then I realized that once I got my nursing license and I started working as a nurse, I was working at a lockdown facility for youth, and I would still come home and braid my clients' hair. My clients were like, when are you going to open your salon? And I'm just like, I don't know. And, I didn't really have an answer for them because I still had this fear of taking that step into entrepreneurship because, entrepreneurship is risk taking. There's security in jobs. There's security in, or there's the idea or the illusion of security in in the traditional route, but entrepreneurship is just like, I got to bet on me. And so the reason why I made the step was because I just did not feel aligned. I found myself just doing something for money versus what I love. So I would come home from my nursing job, I'd be doing hair, and I'm just like, this feels like right. This feels like where I'm supposed to be. And that's when I decided to just quit my nurse. I only worked for like 4 months as a nurse, quit my job. And I always felt like, well, I can always go back to that. If anything doesn't, happen the way I wanted to, I can always fall back on that. But this feels right, right? And so from that point on, and that was 10 years after I had been doing hair, but that's when I, like you said, it's almost 10 years before you actually, but I think when it comes to, certain paths that you're supposed to be on, you don't really choose it chooses you.
Yeah.
And so when I decided to like choose it back, so to speak, that's when things like really started to just make sense for me, because I felt that I was on the right path, like in purpose.
Yeah. One thing you said that immediately stood out, and I'll never forget this conversation, when I was about to graduate and we're sitting and you're just like, well, you never made me feel like I had to choose between school and being at the salon. But one thing you said to me that never left me to this day was, what gives you peace? Do you have peace to go to grad school, or do you have peace to do what you heard God say? Not what God said from your mouth, but you knew what I heard him say. And it was in that moment that I'm like, I know the answer. And even though I have peace with the decision, it didn't mean that I was going to miss the stage to kind of grieve something that I thought I was supposed to be. But the moment that I did have that peace and started to be able to walk in it, like take one step further, like the love, the joy, the excitement of like doing what we were doing every day. And you had just started the academy. So it was like, I'm now getting to record videos and stuff. It was insane, but it was just like, this is who I am. I had so much peace there. I felt like God was going to bless that, because there was a level of joy that I didn't have. Now, I loved school, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But it was a level of joy that I didn't necessarily have in doing research that I had in braiding and twisting, and seeing our clients' hair transform, and then being able to sew into them and see their mind transform, their lives transform. It was everything.
Yeah. I mean, I think it speaks to being fulfilled. It's like you can enjoy a lot of things, but there's another thing when you feel like I'm in the right place and I'm fulfilled. And I definitely felt like, that's what I experienced. But, even going back to that moment, I remember that moment, you were so torn. You were just like, oh my gosh, because I feel like there was these pressures of living up to somebody else's standard for what they saw for you. And, there is kind of like this hierarchy that people have as this is more valuable. This is more worthy of a life path, not realizing that God's path supreme and trumps all of those paths. But when you don't really see the full picture, just looking at it, it's just like, no, you need to do this. Like, again, I went to nursing school, and nursing was paying good money, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know where this path leads, but I know that it's God, and I would rather trust that. And I always say, like, God can dream a bigger dream for you than you can for yourself. And so while you think you got everything mapped out and you going off of like how much money you can make, or even appeasing the likes of somebody else, not even realizing that you're people pleasing to an extent, that, I mean, you can find yourself just being on the wrong path, and you'll realize it because you won't have peace.
Yeah. So what would you say to a stylist who really, they're in between, they trying to work their 9 to 5 and do hair and, have a family, and, like they're trying to essentially stretch themselves thin and do too much. They're not choosing. What would you say to somebody who is like, I kind of want to choose, but I'm scared? What would you say to them?
The first thing I would say is get still. I think when we're in movement sometimes, and we're just almost to a degree, like you can get distracted and you can just be going based off of the things that need to get done, and you're not in a place where you can hear. And I think stillness calms you to where you start recognizing, am I, moving based off of what the expectations of others are? Am I trying to live up to somebody else's standard? What feels right within me, And I think those moments of stillness can help you to figure that out. And I think, it goes back to, again, we're talking about being rare, getting a revelation. Well, how do you get a revelation? First, you have to, I think you have to be in a place for that revelation to come to you. And I think that's like the surrendering of God. Like, what do you want from my life? Like, what are you saying? And it may be very counterintuitive. It may not even make no sense at all, because, when we're walking this path and we're living this life that we say that we live, if you're a believer, it's predicated on trust. Yeah. So there are going to be times where he's going to cause you to do something that doesn't make sense. What if he does say, I am transitioning you into this lane? And it doesn't even necessarily have to be in hairstyling. It could be, I have this path for you, but are you willing to let go of this thing that you think is right, or you think is secure, or you think is safe, in order to go down the path that I have for you? Yeah. And so I think that that's really what the first thing is, just to get still and to pray and ask God to give you a revelation of who you are uniquely and what's the next step. I mean, how many scriptures do we have that says, I will go before you and make your crooked paths straight. The steps of a righteous man are ordered of the Lord. Like, I will direct your path. You know what I'm saying? What is that? Trust in the Lord with all thy heart and lean not into your own understanding. In all thy ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct. Like, do we believe that? Yeah. Because if you think about it in the natural, if you're like, Essence, follow me, I'm going to, show you, then it's literally like, okay, I'm waiting on the next thing you're telling me to do. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so in the same way, if we're following God, it's just like, if he says he's going to lead, then your position is to follow. Yeah. And so I just think that we have to really kind of close our eyes and our ears to what we see, because I think what we see can limit us, because what we see could be lack. What we see could be all the things that we don't have, versus God is like, don't even worry about what you don't have. Good.
Oh, that's so good.
Because I can supernaturally provide one person that will be able to give you what you need for that next step. Yeah. You know what I mean? But we don't know that. So we're only going off of what we can calculate. This is how much is in my bank account. This is, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And
instead of starting where we are.
Right. Yeah. So we look at limitations versus the abundance, and he said, don't get me excited. Get excited. But he can do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask, think, or imagine. And so I think that when we begin to not only pray, but see, it goes back to getting a revelation of his character. If you don't know his character, then how can you really trust? Yeah. It's like in any relationship, I can only depend on you to the level that I know that I can trust you to. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so he's just saying, get to know me. Yeah. Get to know me. And so I think that getting to know me is him telling you, like, everything is a promise. Like, I'm telling you, I got you. Yeah. The whole, from Genesis to Revelations, I got you, And so when we understand that he is dependable, he is trustworthy, then when he does give us a direction, we can't think that he's about to make us fall on our face. Yeah. Because that's not his heart. That's not his character, Yeah. So for me, in all the steps that, I had to take even in my career, I mean, there were so many transitions from going from being a nurse into full-time braiding, from going from full-time braiding to open a salon, from going from open a salon to educating. Yeah. All of those steps were very scary for me, but I took them because I heard him. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so it wasn't like based on what I thought I could do. Yeah. I mean, I knew I was gifted as a stylist, but I didn't know I could teach. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I think that that's where we really have to really just trust him. So I don't know, what would you say in terms of like, what would those steps be for a stylist who is kind of like weighing out options or... All right, y'all. So you know that we have been doing coaching for quite some time. And so we are opening our coaching program up to more stylists, and really excited to help more stylists because there are so many stylists who are struggling in so many areas of their business, and it's keeping them from being able to grow. Some of you stylists are struggling with posting your work. You're fearful of the rejection. You're fearful that it's not going to get the reception or that your work is not good enough. We want to help you with that. There are stylists who are dealing with not feeling they feel like they're overworked, and they feel like they're underpaid, and they feel like they're just running in this hamster wheel, and it's because your business is running you and you're not running your business. And we want to help you get a handle on that. Obviously, you know our backgrounds. We've been in the salon industry for over 20 years.
We really want to give stylists an opportunity to assess, like, what is your mindset? If you don't feel confident in even being a stylist, and or if you feel like you don't have things in place because your clients run over you, we want to be able to give you an opportunity to not only do the assessment, but to have somebody who does have experience be able to speak life into those areas so that you can really see growth. And lastly, really looking at, I'm not making the money to even have a livable income in this industry. So how do I do that? How do I go from this being a side hustle to this being my full thing, and sowing all my seeds into that? Really want to make sure that we give you the right tools.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are a lot of stylists that they want to be successful, but because they don't have the clientele, they don't know how to retain the clientele, they're having to work at another job, and they're like, this is not what I want to do. I don't even feel passionate about this, but the thing I feel passionate about, I don't know how to necessarily move forward in it. So we want to help you do that. And so we want you to click the link. If you're interested in being coached by us, click the link, and we're going to be able to take you to another level. Really, you're going to take yourself to another level by implementing all the wisdom that we've been blessed to have, and it's helped us grow as business owners. So we'll see you in our coaching program.
I think that it will come down to, after you've been still, did you hear him say yes? Like, it is time. Because I think sometimes stylists can, or people, and I call them natural enthusiasts. Like, they like the idea of doing natural hair. They may even be good at it, but they won't choose. It's too scary. It's too unpredictable. But I think that if you know that you're supposed to be doing this, and you know you have more peace here, but the money is not where you want it to be, then that's an area that you do get to operate that trust. It was something that you told me when I was younger. And for everybody who doesn't know, I've literally known Essence since I was 15 years old. So she's literally been a part of my whole life, more than half of my life now. And so she's always been dropping gems and stuff on me since I was little, and they really stuck. But it was because I saw you operate in the way that, like, it demonstrated integrity. It demonstrated trust in God. Like, you did not move without him. I haven't seen it, you know?
Not to say that I haven't.
but in especially in the things that God made me pay attention to, it was those things that I'm just like, if she can trust God, and God can deliver on his promises, I can trust God, and he can deliver on the promises he made to me too. And so it is, who are you surrounding yourself with that is encouraging you to kind of be in both worlds? Are you lukewarm to even the gift or the obedience? I think it's taking all those things into consideration. Is it the right time for you? Are you being disobedient because you're scared? Like, really identifying, what is the reason that I'm just not making a decision? And then once you get that answer, that's really going to be up to you. But if you take that leap of faith and you do decide, no, you're not going to be no 6-figure stylist in the very beginning, just like you wouldn't be no 6-figure nothing in any other industry in the very beginning, it requires you to put in something. You need to sow in a seed, whether that's your time, whether that's your resources, whatever it is. But a lot of people aren't willing to do it because of comparison. They see, oh, this person, they said they was only braiding for 3 years and now they got a salon, now they're doing this. I'm like, you don't know what they sacrificed. You don't know what their journey was. You're just seeing what you think is fruit. And I say what you think because it's not always the fruit that it actually is. So if you are in that like comparison or that lukewarm stage, you do need to get still. You do need to kind of understand what God said to you and decide whether you're going to be obedient or not.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be obedient sometimes because just like you were saying, sometimes it just goes against everything in your body. And you don't always have the full support and you're not going to see the fruit immediately. But if you are obedient, like the reward is it's unreal. Oh,
yeah.
It's unreal.
I think for me too, was like, nothing was really competing for my interest. I think the thing is like so many stylists, we are very creative. Yeah. And so we have a lot of different things that we can do, you know, and we might be good at quite a few things. And so I loved hair. And so I kind of had the traditional route versus doing this entrepreneurial route, but there was nothing else necessarily creatively that was like pulling at me. And I find that there are a lot of stylists that are like, they're half into hairstyling.
Yeah, that's so
because, you know, they got like 5 other hustles because I heard you got to have multiple streams of income, not realizing like you have to pick one.
That word ain't for everybody at the same time.
What I've learned, and this is what I found to be true, it's like you have to pick one. You know, the Bible even talks about being faithful of the few and he'll give you, you know what I'm saying, make you ruler over many. But it's like, if you just ride one thing and become excellent at that, I do believe that in time, if there are other gifts that he starts to make available or make known to you, he'll give you the grace to express them in the timing. Yeah. But, you know, I think for me, like I said, I didn't have anything else, you know, competing for hair. So then it was like, okay, I'm going to choose hair, even though there was a fear there. Yeah. But also, too, it was easier for me not to get caught up in competition because this is we're talking late media. 90s. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? So there wasn't social media to where I had to always see what somebody else is doing and how they're progressing and excelling. So it was just like, I'm going at my own pace and I just trust that when it's supposed to happen, it happened. But, you know, I was, 31. I was like 15 years into doing hair before I got on the cover of Essence. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a long journey, but I wasn't looking at the clock.
Yeah. You were just doing your work.
And I was loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, there are a lot of people doing hair, but when they're allowing all the other distractions to come into play, it's hard for you to perfect something when you're always looking to the side. Like I ran track for so many years. I love track. But if I looked in the other lane more than once or even for a half a second, I'm going to be slower. It's going to slow me down every single time instead of me focusing on what I'm supposed to be doing. I want to win, you know? But yeah, comparison really is a thief. It's a thief of not just your joy in general, but sometimes you feel like you're measuring your progress all the time and there's no contentment. There's no like, I'm proud of myself for getting better at this because you're looking at what looks perfect all the time. And so I would also encourage somebody who is in that place where they're trying to decide whether or not they want to be a stylist or not and pursue it full time, understanding that it's going to take time to perfect that gift.
Absolutely.
Like, we didn't come in, like I came in as a good braider, but it was because I had been braiding for so long before you even saw me. And then I was always a student. I'm like, I want to get better. I still feel that way. Like I feel like I'm a good braider and I'm proud of myself. But I always feel like there's room for me to learn and grow. And as trends and stuff change, if it's something that God says that I can participate in, I think us knowing that is incredibly important too, because everything is not for you. But if it's something I can participate in, then I'm going to practice it. I'm going to study it to be able to refine my skills even more.
Yeah.
And I personally, I feel like I see it sometimes, especially when we have our classes and everything, like we can see their progression literally in 3 days, which is amazing. But I also see the flip side of stylists who, it takes a hit on their confidence all the time being compared to what looks like perfection. And that can make you not choose too.
Yeah. And I think, not to say for me, it's a little bit hard to identify because I think doing hair just came natural to me. And I got, pretty good like early before I was seeing a whole lot of people's work. But I can equate it to me even playing like my instrument, something I'm learning. And I came in at the lowest of the lowest level and just thinking like, dang, I don't even want to watch somebody that played super good right now because I can't even focus. I'm like, how and when am I ever going to be able to get there? But, we talked about this before, and I definitely know we'll talk about it in another episode, but it's like, choosing to see those examples of excellence and mastery as inspiration as opposed to intimidation, and, looking at it like, that's how dope I can be, and this is somebody, that I can use as a marker that I can see. And now even with my bass playing, I'm just like, dang, I remember where I came from. And I'm just so grateful that I've, got this far even in where I'm at. And so I'm happy with my own growth. And I think that that's what satisfies me. And I think if stylist or whatever path that you're on, is just like, man, look at how far you've already come. And if you already come this far by faith, you know what I mean? There's so much more that you have to do. And I think it's, just believing in yourself. But, I think that, going back to like the why, it's like, why are you really in this? Because I think there's some people who are gifted, but their heart is not in it. It's like, I can. Not what you can do. I always say this, it's not about what you can do, but what you're created to do, and I think when you differentiate those two things, it's like, I can do it, but my heart really ain't there. And if it's not, then find out what it is. Find out what is really calling you, what you are feeling aligned to do. And I think that that's where you'll start to not even allow yourself to be concerned, because it's like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And however long it takes, I'm going to get there.
So I think I didn't know my why for a really long time before, like while I was doing hair. But it took me discovering things about myself that I felt like I could personally celebrate without the influence of anybody, to know what I can even contribute to an environment that made me still love what I do. And I'll break it down.
Okay. Because I'm about to say, break it down for me.
I'll break it down. I knew that me coming from a nurturing, kind, position would make somebody feel safe in my chair, would make somebody feel seen or heard in my chair. I knew that it wasn't just about me doing their hair great. And when I started to discover that, like, it gave me a different, like, level of intention and purpose to be able to show up and be a part of the better part of their day and not contribute to anything negatively. They can come in and be having the worst day ever. You think me doing a tight braid on somebody's head is going to make that better? No, they want to come in and relax, and if they have the space or the capacity to have a conversation, then we can have a conversation. And sometimes they want to be quiet. Can they be quiet and safe with you? I knew that I wanted to contribute to somebody's whole experience versus just like having them leave with their hair looking good. Because I knew if they came and they felt, I felt heard today, I felt seen today, I felt loved today, I felt encouraged today, and I'm leaving looking good, I'm coming back. Like, you know, but it wasn't because I wanted them to come back. It's that I wanted to give something. I'm going to get money, and that's great. And I know that it's valuable, but it was more valuable to start building like real connection and real relationship with people versus it being transactional all the time. I knew that wouldn't sustain me if it was a transaction all the time.
Yeah.
And now I operate like that with everyone. And hair helped to show me that. It was there before, but it helped to refine something in me that became like a core part of my character. That I think if we really do a deep enough work, again, this is not something that you're going to find out tomorrow if you begin today. But just start to, if you really want to understand why you're doing something, start to understand what experience you want to contribute to somebody. And if that experience is, you better come and pay me, well, that might not last a long time. You might not have good lasting like relationships. We have clients who've been coming for decades because we become a part of their family. Not just because how much they pay us, that is a fact. We want them to value our time, but we also want them to value the experience that they're getting.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times clients they're not always cognizant of all the reasons why they're drawn back, but there's just an experience that makes them feel. You always hear, it's not what you do, but it's how you make them feel.
Yeah,
how do you say
Maya
that?
Angelou.
Yeah, but it's
people will remember they won't remember what you did, but they'll remember how you made them feel. Yeah.
And so there's a feeling. And so, asking yourself, like, what feeling and experience do I want to give? And I think, even the creation of Rare Essence, like, I was just thinking to myself, like, I was tired of braiding hair out of my apartment. And I'm just like, and we'll talk about the law later on, but it was just like, I want to create a professional environment where people can feel just like, I don't know, just excellent, just feel themselves and be beautified, and not just be beautified aesthetically, but, like we talk to them about conversation. We have conversations with clients and they're just like, I never even thought about that. Yeah. Or I've never had this conversation before. And so as we grow as stylists, as we grow as individuals, what happens is we naturally pour out because it's overflow. And so that overflow of how we're doing our inner work pours out into them. And this may be the only time that they have that experience. And so I think that that's, very much a part of the why that I didn't necessarily know. I even realized it was years into it where I realized I was like, oh, it's about transformation.
Yeah. Every day.
It doesn't matter if you're a stylist that works at Rare Essence, if you're a client that comes through the doors, like we have a mandate, like we have an assignment to help transform. It's not a force, but it's just as we transform, it just naturally happens. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like even our transformation with God putting us together, we didn't necessarily know like all the ins and outs, but it became evident in time. It was like, oh, okay. Because when I met her, she was 15. We went to the same church.
Yeah.
I seen her sister's hair. And at the time I had just opened the salon and I was looking for a stylist. And I just happened to ask, like, who did your hair? Because her hair looked really good. And she was, 13? Like, she pointed to you and you're 15 and like, so you look super young. You didn't even look 15. I was just like, her? She did your hair? And she was like, yeah. And so then I talked to you and your mom, and that was pretty much like how things got started. But I mean, it's just crazy to see like, but we didn't know what that chance meeting would turn into, but God knew. So.
Yeah. When you were talking, it just made me think like there's going to be so many things that do try to fight for your attention and or discourage you from doing the thing that does bring you joy too. There's so many factors. It could be money. It could be, your confidence. It could be your belief that it just will or will not happen. I mean, it can definitely even be certain styles or clients. I think it is getting to a place where you have people who are also filling you up and encouraging you. There were so many times that I'm like, I knew I needed that encouragement to just stay. What would you offer to a stylist who does like meet some of those barriers and does feel discouraged to just keep going. Because sometimes it's just like, it's hard. I don't want to keep fighting, or I don't want to fight this one thing. Or I will say for me, one of the things that almost took me out, I won't say took me out, but it definitely was hard. It was that, I came up in a time where braiders didn't look like me. I didn't see braiders that looked like me either. Mm-hmm. And so I had clients making comments all the time like, wait, you're doing my hair? You did these braids? Like, you don't even have my hair texture. You don't do this or that. I'm like, but I've done this literally my whole life. My sister has kinky curly hair. Like, I've done her hair literally her whole life. I know this hair texture better than my own most times, And so some of those comments, they hurt a lot. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago, we had a conversation and we were at Barnes and Noble and I was a mess. I'm the emotional one, guys. So I'm always crying.
I'm emotional. I just don't show it,
And we were sitting at Barnes and Noble and you were just like, you need to address that. You need to address it because that can be a blocker to you moving forward. And I never did before. And I never even gave it was like something I didn't even think I needed to give to God.
Yeah.
But I realized like I have to show up exactly as he called me to show up. And whoever I'm for, I'm for. I don't have to be for everybody. I don't have to be the archetype. Like, he didn't bless me with brown skin. He didn't bless me with kinkier hair. He said, this is who you are and this is what you're going to do. And it took me a minute. I didn't even realize I wasn't even in full agreement with that. And when I did become in full agreement with that, I took a whole different level of authority that I was like, who I am for. I will bless. I will give everything for, and who I'm not, it's okay. But getting to that point, it made me define my why to another degree because I came into agreement with like who you are and exactly how you show up is for someone.
Yeah.
Understanding that everybody is not your audience, but who your audience is, you can show up and like serve them and love them and nurture them with everything you have. And anybody else who has anything negative to say, somebody else is for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, when we talk about just being rare, and I always tell people like, we think that, us showing up sometimes is about us.
Yeah.
And it really kind of takes us off of what we're supposed to be doing, because even if we think about the concept of rare one, it's like, it's for you. You're supposed to become so you can serve a purpose, a people, an assignment. You know what I mean? So it's really not about you. It's like in so many instances where I was being called higher and I didn't feel like I had the confidence to do it. Like I didn't feel like I didn't think I had anything. I definitely felt like inadequate in areas. I had to realize, one, what I was hearing was true, and I had to align with that truth. Yeah. And then I had to realize it's not about you. And if I don't do what I'm called to do, there's a group of people who are not being served. Yeah. And may not ever be served. You know what I mean? It's like people who are going to be drawn to, your business and who you are, they're coming for a specific reason. It's intrinsic. It's something that sometimes you can't even pinpoint, but they want you, and I think that even if you think about just the idea of like scrolling through social media, I don't know if everybody's like this, but you can go to somebody's page who is awesomely creative, and it could be any type of business, and you're looking at the work, but there's a part of you that's curious about who that person is. Who is the creator behind this creation? Yeah. Like, you want to know. There's a part of you that just wants to be able to connect. Yeah. And so that connection speaks to essentially understanding like that this person is rare. You know what I mean? And I think as you show up authentically, going back to your authentic assignment, there's a group of people that are like dying for you to show up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that that's where we have to put the focus on. Is like, if I don't show up, who's not going to be served?
Whose life is dependent on it? Yeah.
You know, so if it is to be a hairstylist to serve a certain demographic in your community, if you're talking yourself out of it because you're not doing it like this person, or if, you know, your presentation is different. Okay, what if you want to do like a salon that is completely just out the norm, but it's going to serve a specific community, and they're going to be so happy because they feel like they fit.
Yeah.
So, you know, we recognize that every client that walks through Rare Essence, or every potential person, may not necessarily feel at home there because maybe that we don't speak the same language. Maybe they're not necessarily like our tribe, so to speak, and that's okay. They will find their place. Yeah. But if we never existed, then what? You know, if you never existed, then what? You know?
Yeah. And I think that goes straight into like, we want to encourage people who want to grow with us, to learn with us. This is a consistent work. This is not something that we just like, oh, we just get to sit back on a couch that's cute and just talk about. No, we're out here really doing it, and doing it every single day to make sure that God is not a lie. Like, we are obedient because we know that he can trust us to be obedient. But at the end of the day, like, people, as Essence said, like, people's lives literally depend on what we do. So we do have to show up. How do you want to show up in your community? How do you want to show up with this gift that you have? And if you feel like you even are having to choose, well, start looking at why you feel like you have to choose. If you're going to be on this journey with us, there'll never be a point where we get to say, sit back and relax and let life just pass you by. No, it's go out and do your work. Go out and serve your community. Serve the gift that God gave you. Mm-hmm. It's either you doing that or you dying. And I want to live. I don't know about somebody else, but I'm like, I want to live while I got all the life in me. So every single time, we're just going to encourage you to take some time to reflect on why you're doing this. If he called you to do it, what did he call you to do? What interests you? What draws you even in this industry? What can you focus on to be able to become a master at, to be able to serve a specific community for a good amount of time? When we talk about perpetuity, we're not saying that we are going to encourage you to be in an industry, in this industry or any other industry, for 1 to 2 years. No, you want to have some decades in, to be able to call yourself a master at something. So that's my, I guess.
And I say that your inner work prepares you for your purpose work. Yeah. And I think that those things are in tandem. There's a statement that I always say is that your business can only grow to the extent that you do as a person. And so the more you're committed to your own personal work, your business and your purpose work, you know, all of that is going to be benefited by that. And so, you know, we just, again, we want to encourage you. We're so excited to start this podcast. This is our very first episode, and we would love for you all to submit to us questions, and we're going to create an Instagram page. I don't know the title just yet, but we're going to figure it out. And, but yeah, we'd love to invite you on this journey of becoming the rare one. Yeah. So
we're so excited to be able to serve with y'all and help to grow a community of stylists who want to learn how to just do better. That's really our goal. We want you to learn how to do better, and we want to give you every tool we possibly can. So yeah, I'm super excited for this journey.
So we will see you on the next episode. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you next week.
And share if it inspires you. Love y'all.
Peace.